What is up, y'all? It is Cameron here with Getting It Outdoors, and today I'm going to be teaching y'all an in-depth tutorial on how to call ducks, like looking at a spread. So let's get into it. Here on Getting It Outdoors. Alright, what is up, y'all? So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about how to call it ducks. Some of y'all wanting to know, how do I call it ducks in the air and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So here we've got about a 36 duck spread. And this is all of these lines is like cattails, and this is a kind of situation that I had last year. So let me just fill y'all in. All these X's are decoys, and I have them kind of split up into two pods right here. That is just, how ducks would look naturally, and I put these little specks here as like smartweed and stuff like that, as this was a late season hunt. And later in the season, you kind of want to take ducks and put them more out of sight, so that way if they fly over, they only catch a glimpse at them, because during the whole season they're seeing ducks in open water. They see decoys, and after a while they do get smart enough and start to recognize decoys. So this would be the shooting position. We were standing in the cattails. There was 3 of us that day, and we had our closest shot at about 10 yards. The kill hole was at about 20, and our farthest shot was at about 30. Like I said, these X's are all decoys, and these like figure 8s right here, these are spinning wings. So this was a west wind, and we kind of set up so we could get passing shots, and the ducks would be landing in this way, because ducks land into the wind. So the wind is coming from this way, you are going to have ducks landing this way. So what we did, let me just give y'all a little rundown here of some gadwalls that we had come in that day. So we seen these gadwalls, way over here. They were probably about, 60 yards. So the first thing that I did was hit them with a greeting call. So after that, these gadwalls, they kind of just worked around to this side, and they worked around. When I was seeing them here, I was hitting them with a few quacks and a feeding chuckle. So after I was doing that, they kind of swung around, and they were right over our heads, still pretty high. So as I was looking at their stomachs, I was quacking. Those ducks swung around and started heading this way. When they start heading away from you, you can do a comeback call, which is like a high ball, or you can do a greeting call. And I did a greeting call, and they just kept going away, so I hit them with a hail call or a comeback call. And once I hit them with that hail call, they kind of swung back around, faced into the wind, and started dropping down and locked up. And they got to right over the top of this spinning wing, and it maybe would have been about a 2-minute, 3-minute calling thing. So this is what it sounded like as they were coming in. It was greeting, quack, chuckle, quack, swooped around, greeting call, eyeball, chuckle, quack. And as they were swooping down, I thought they were going to do it. And so I was about to call the shot, and one of my buddies, he jumped up and scared them away. But I learned from that experience as, this is how you call ducks at more of an open water situation, because I was used to hunting Tennessee and Arkansas timber, and I learned a lot. All right, so this is another hunt that we went on last year. We call this the Woody Hole. Although we did work some mallards, we just killed woodies out of this hole, so we just decided to call it the Woody Hole. Now in this diagram here, all of these circles are trees. This was an Indiana timber hunt, which Indiana timber is not very open, and it's just a lot of trees in an area with a lot of fallen down branches and whatnot, because unlike Arkansas, it does not get run through very often. So in this specific hunt, we had, these are ripplers, the squares are ripplers, and we had them going the whole hunt. Once again, the figure 8 is a spinning wing, and all of these are decoys. The X's are decoys. There was no wind on this day, so we just had to really just guesstimate as to what they were going to want to do, but we set up the spread according. In the morning, we just had a bum rush of wood ducks, just tweets and, flying wood duck sounds everywhere. So later in the morning, we did have some big ducks get up, mostly mallards and some gadwalls once again, as this area was just 1,000 yards away from the previous diagram, just more in the timber. So the first thing that we did, we seen a big group of mallards over here over in the trees. This is an island, I call it an island, but it was just up out of the water, raised a little more, and it was more solid ground compared to the water out here. In this diagram, this dots are duckweed, not necessarily like grasses and stuff like that, but more duckweed. So in the morning, we had some wood ducks, working around us, and I used my wood duck call, and I got us 2 wood ducks that day. I'll throw some pictures up right here. Two really nice wood duck drakes. But we seen some mallards over here about to cross over the island. So as I was seeing, I was hitting them with a greeting call, and they were just low enough where they could see in the trees, but also just high enough where they could just barely hear the call. So I had to get really super loud. Now this was only 3 weeks into the season, and it was a pretty good hunt. It was cold, there was ice on the water, it was great. But they were flying over this island, and I hit them with a really loud hail call. They were kind of going this way. They came around the island, and I hit them with a loud hail call. I was the middle shooter over here, and I hit them with a very, very loud hail call on my open water call, even though it was timbered. So they came, and they swooped around after hitting the hail call, and they swooped around kind of over here, and that's when I started hitting them with more of some quacks and a feeding chuckle. So right about here, I hit them with a couple of quacks. They started swinging back over top of us. And right here, I just started hitting them with quacks. And as they were coming over the top of us, my buddy decided he was going to try and shoot them at about 80 yards in the air. Safe to say, after that, we did not hunt with him anymore. But that is just an example of what really aggressive calling can do during the early season. They were out here, hit them with a super loud, super long hail call. Came around over here with some quacks and some feeding chuckles as they were coming around the top of us. And just my buddy decided he wanted to try and shoot him at 80 yards in the air. This was like his first duck season, and we told him don't shoot unless he wants to, unless we say so, and he just ruined it for everybody. Alright, so this next example is actually the hunt that I went on this year already. This was the opening day of early duck opener on some private land. We only brought out 11 decoys and 2 spinners, so 13 decoys total. because we weren't expecting to see too many ducks, and actually migration came in the night before, apparently, because when we got out there, it was absolutely covered in ducks. But we only ended up shooting one because we were brought a almost brand new hunter who had never really hunted before, and kind of uh, I'll just explain here in a minute. So the first thing that we were doing, blah blah blah. Mallard hen came this way, and once again, these are grasses, and this is duckweed along the edge, and all of this out here is open water. Um, so on this hunt, we had these are all mallard decoys, and then these three are wood ducks, because that was the only two ducks that we had seen the day previous as we went and scouted. But there are three shooters. This is my boat, and so we had a mallard hen that came in, and she was right about here. She was coming this way, and she landed over here when she died. But this hole was only about 25, 30 yards out, so it was still good duck killing yardages, nothing crazy like 50, 60 yards. Um, So we had a 6-pack of mallards come in this way, and there was no wind this day. We were projected to have 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, but we ended up having no wind all day. And as soon as the sun broke over the trees that were way out here, that's when we started seeing good mallard activity. Um, so we had a group of 6 mallards come in, 5 drakes and 1 hen, and so as soon as I didn't really see them because I was blocked. I was this back shooter right here, and I was blocked by this big bush that was in the way. So I didn't really see them until they were right here. Now they were low enough, and they were pretty much locked up, coming in by themselves with no calling. But as the sun was right over these trees over here, I could not see them coming in. So once they broke out of this sun over here, I just hit them with some quacks. Hit them with some quacks as they were over here, and they continued to come this way. Once I seen their wingtips and they were kind of swooping out back behind the boat, I was still going quacks and some feeding chuckle, and that seemed to keep their interest. So they swooped back over here, and they started heading away, and I hit them with a greeting call, just 5 quacks, just like this. And that really spiked them back up. They actually swooped back around, and when they were right about here again, they were locked up, coming in, and I was getting ready to say kill them as they were right about here, locked up about 15, 20 feet over the water. But I lost them in the sun again, and I could not see them, so I did not call the shot, and they were a good 10 feet off the water right here, and this new hunter in the middle started moving, and they picked back up. And this is a good lesson for y'all. Just because the duck picks up does not mean that they are gone. They picked up and started coming around this way. So once I seen their butts again, I gave them a hail call this time, because I noticed that they got skittish and that they just wanted to go. So I gave them a good long hail call, and they swooped right back around, and they were over the decoys again. Once they were over the decoys, I started giving them a quack. Just like this, quacks like that. And they swooped back over our heads, and when they came over our heads, because they swooped back to the same way that they did before, I started giving them feeding chuckles, but real soft feeding chuckles like this. And that seemed to pique their interest again, and they came back around, and they were muscle manned or cupped up again right here coming in. But they didn't seem to want to finish, and we figured the reason that they wanted to not finish was because the hole was too small. This hole was only meant to be fitting about 3 ducks that wanted to come in, but there was 6 ducks there. The hole wasn't big enough, and they didn't want to land on the outside of the decoys, because the day previous we had sat here and watched a few mallards and some wood ducks land right here. So we were assuming that they wanted to land right there, and that we were only going to have onesie twosies. but we ended up having a pack of 6. So they came in, muscle manned again, and I was just, giving them encouragement quacks, quack, like this. And they kind of just came back around, and as they were coming at their wingtips, I could see their wingtips were right here, pointing towards us, and they swooped back around, back over our head, and as they were coming over our head, I gave them feeding chuckle because they seemed to enjoy that, and once again, they went this way, back away from us, and this time that I only let them get to about here, which was about 25, or not even 25, maybe 15 yards away from me, and I just gave them a greeting call, and once again they swooped back in, muscle manned up, or cupped up, and they were coming in. They didn't like it for some reason. Maybe the hole was too small, maybe they didn't like something, how it looked, maybe they were seeing us, who knows, but I don't think they were seeing us, because if they were going to see us, they were going to see us right over our heads, because we did not have a blind, but they didn't seem to mind as they were flying right over our heads. As they were coming in this way again, I was going to call the shot as they were 20 feet over the water this time, but I lost them in the sun, and they swooped back around. I gave them some encouragement quacks, and they came swooping back over my head again, and I gave them feeding chuckle, and 4 of them ended up going away. They didn't like it, they just left. But we seen this mallard drake, and he just wanted it real bad. He swooped around us. I gave him 4 or 5 quacks, just whack, 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 like that, and he swooped around us, and we thought he disappeared because we hadn't seen him for about 10 seconds. So I stopped calling, and he came in right over our head against the grain with these spinning wings, and he came in, and he was backpedaling right here, facing away from us. I didn't really see him as I lost him in the sun once again, but the middle shooter here, I was gonna wait for him to get onto the water once I seen his wings flapping after I caught my vision back here about 5 seconds later. And he was backpedaling over this, but apparently the new shooter that we had seen him before us, and he just unloaded his gun, missing every shot, and that duck picked up and flew mock Jesus this way. So that was an experience that I had, and a lot of this has come from about 5 seasons now of watching ducks, calling ducks, and just getting out there, experiencing it yourself, and just learning everything that you can about ducks, because if we would have had a bigger spread, we might not have had those ducks work at all. If we would have had a smaller spread, then we would have had those ducks land easier. If we wouldn't have had spinners, they might wanted to land by themselves. There's just a lot of variables when it comes to duck hunting, because ducks don't follow rules. They break them all the time, and there's no set rules to duck hunting. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope it informed y'all a lot. If you want to learn how to do the quack on a duck call, I will leave that here. And if you would like to hit that subscribe button, you can hit that here. But if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That helps me out a lot, because it basically shows YouTube that, hey, he's actually getting activity on his videos, and that gets these videos out to more people. Don't be afraid to share with your friends. Once again, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you on the next one.